And hello, Suvi. It's so nice to see you.
Hello, nice to see you too. Thank you for the invitation.
Yeah, great to have you here on Design and Dialogue. Before we get any further, I just want to make sure that everybody who's listening knows that last week, which we took a pause because of the presidential election here in the United States, but we did release a great trio of recordings of interviews by Catherine Rossi, the British design historian, with Andrea Bronzi, the great Italian radical designer and architectural thinker and urbanist. So if you haven't had a chance to go and look at those, please do. They're subtitled in English, and they're absolutely fascinating. I learned a lot. I'm sure that you all will too. But now we have the pleasure of turning from Italy to Finland and to hear about all the great work that you and your colleagues have been doing there. Before we get started, can you just say a little bit about what the situation is at the museum? I know you're actually calling from the museum now. So what's the experience for you been like over the past few months?
So hi everyone, and greetings from Helsinki, actually from the Helsinki Design Museum. I'm staying here after the opening hours. We just closed and it's 6 o'clock in the evening, and the situation at the museum is that we are open happily. We needed to close for a couple of months in the springtime, but we are now keeping the space open. We are not having that many visitors, but still it's important for us to kind of offer a space for everyone to come to maybe feel pleasure among these like horrible times.
And we'll be actually getting to some of the curatorial responses that you've been undertaking in relation to the events of the year. Maybe we could go ahead and start looking at some images though, because the first thing that we want to talk about is a really exciting topic, which is the fact that you will be building an entirely new museum there in Helsinki. So perhaps we could go ahead and get started with some images. I'll just bring that up. And you can tell us a little bit about that project.
Maybe we can already start.
Yeah, just bring
our museum, Helsinki Design Museum, pictured over here, is one of the oldest design museums in the world. So we were founded almost 150 years ago. And in this building, in the central Helsinki, we have been located since 1977. And what was funny is that I just recently read the opening speech of this museum from 1977, the first exhibition held in this building, and it said, the director said at the opening speech that they have already started working with the new building, that this will be a temporary building, and they will actually work really hard to get a proper bespoke building for exhibition purposes built in Helsinki for design. And okay, since 1977, quite many years have passed.
43 years in waiting, yes.
Exactly. And we are finally in a stage that during the most horrible times of COVID in late, or maybe not the most horrible times, but actually after the first shock in early June 2020, the Finnish government, a new one, announced that actually they would like to hand out as a recovery plan for COVID the funding for the new museum for design and architecture. And we have been lobbying for this new museum quite intensively for maybe 4 to 5 years, really intensively. And suddenly, personally, I felt that, okay, now this plan is going to go to the trash because of the COVID, and we then hear exactly the opposite news from the government, that they will actually start supporting it as a recovery plan.
Amazing. And it's a huge amount of funding too, isn't it? It's millions and millions of euros, as I understand it.
60 million euros, and it's actually, if you go to the next image, so, oh, this is our current building still, like this is our lobby, but if we can go to the next building, which is a next image, which is a aerial view of central Helsinki. And actually in this kind of bay looking area, a lot has been reserved for by the city of Helsinki for this new building. And the other partner in this new museum project, funding partner, is the city of Helsinki. And they are coming along, hopefully with the equal amount, 60 million euros. And of course, we need to fundraise many, many tens of millions of euros still on top of that. Mm-hmm. But it's a very central location if somebody has been in Helsinki. So it's kind of like a premier location. Mm. Maybe somebody, I need to mention, but maybe somebody has followed the Guggenheim Helsinki conversation a few years back. And it's exactly the same area, actually the same location that the new Design and Architecture Museum is now planned to be built. And now I will let you ask or speak soon, but I want to highlight that at this time, it won't be just the building or museum for our museum, for Finnish Design Museum, but it will be actually a joint venture, joint museum with the Finnish Architecture Museum. So we will actually have kind of a very kind of like globally compared, we will have very rare type of huge museum concentrating in architecture and design, and with its collections, which are remarkable in both architecture and design, it will take a important position in the global museum map.
Mm. So Suvi, can I ask you to talk a little bit about the arguments that you made to the government in order for this to take place? I suppose from a distant position here in the United States, of course, we're all very familiar with the Nordic design miracle of the post-war era. And I suppose that at least part of what you must have argued is that design has a special place, and architecture too, of course, have a special place in the Finnish cultural makeup and achievement of the past 50, 60, 75 years. But maybe you could tell us a little bit more about that and how you see the museum perhaps extending a national legacy of design.
That is a good question, because some might ask why a museum can be elemental part in the recovery plan. Mm. And this is not actually a new thing that architecture and design has been used as a tool for recovery of the nation. Mm. So actually the Finnish design and architecture was elemental part when gaining the Finnish independence from Russia in 1917. Mm. Also the post-war era, which you mentioned, we lost the war to Russia. We had huge war debts, and with the help of design and architecture, the country was rebuilt again. Mm. And also during the current times, design and architecture is used to enhance the everyday life of Finnish people. So this is actually the argument why it is part of the recovery plan and why it is considered to be important. It is because the museum would actually focus heavily on Nordic welfare society model and how design and architecture have played elemental role in this building of Nordic welfare society.
Okay. There's a lot to talk about there. Maybe I could just go on to the next image as we talk a little more about this, just to show more of the site planning.
So this is a plan in which area the museum would be located. Of course, not the whole area, but kind of there will be a competition, hopefully launched soon, about the development of the whole area, because it's actually a harbor area, really nice seaside location. But to be honest, it's not used so well as it could be used for Helsinki city dwellers use or visitors use. I guess the same happens in New York City, that the seashore hasn't been used so well, and now there are have been for many years some ideas to change it. So. So next thing, maybe about the timetable. So we are hopefully getting a new project group started in the end of this year or in the beginning of next year. And also early next year, we hope to get the architecture competition, whether it will be open or by invitation, I don't know, but it would get going or get started as well in the beginning of next year, hopefully. But right. Of course, we still need decisions by the city council, the city parliament. We need some decisions, final decisions by the government, etc. But it looks good. It looks first time really that is happening since 1977 opening speech.
And I'm right in thinking there's also a new design museum happening in Oslo too, isn't there, in Norway?
Yes, it's a national museum, so it's the museum also for the national art gallery, but also with the design and applied arts focus.
Yeah. So it's just maybe worth emphasizing that there's a big development of the museum infrastructure for design happening in that part of the world, which is extremely exciting. I did want to ask you, Suvi, to expand on one thing that you said a minute ago. And it was fascinating also to hear you talk about the way that design served as a factor in these international relations, and particularly in post-war reconstruction. So we might actually compare Finland in that respect to Japan or Italy, in ways that maybe a lot of Americans aren't aware of. But I wanted to ask you specifically about this idea of the social welfare system and the political ideology of that and the way that design relates to it. I know that in Swedish anyway, that there's this term folkhem, which is the kind of, shared welfare of the country and the government's responsibility for that. And I'm under the impression that in Finland too, there's a very strong sense of a kind of middle class, egalitarian prosperity as a national goal, and the design is caught up in that. Can you say a little bit about that? I know it's a big question, but
I just read some statistics that was it 85% of Finns belong to the middle class.
85%.
Yes, that's huge.
Yes.
That's crazy. And about your question, I think maybe the answer would be the democratic design. So since the 20s, designers like Alvar Aalto have been promoting that design needs to be possible to purchase and use for everyone, by everyone, and the whole mindset, the materials, the way how to design them, how to distribute them, where to have them needs to be thought from democratic point of view. And that kind of like, I would say that it's interesting that it's also the education of Aalto University, which was in the beginning called craft school. I think the democratic thinking has been passed on through the education from generation to generation. And just by just a curiosity, when I had the chance to live for a few months in New York City, and my mind was blown because of the collectible design scene. And I was like, it was 2014, and the collectible design in Nordic countries had just started kind of developing, kind of the latest wave of collectible design. And I was kind of thinking that, why don't we have this thing? Why do we just have mass-produced democratic design? It's so boring. But of course, later on, I understood that many things are behind everything. The things that the kind of structures in the society are behind these things. And of course, I'm very proud of our democratic design heritage and also the current.
I suppose when you get into it, it's not boring at all, because what you realize is that those objects are part of this very complex social and political story. And I did want to just say to listeners that we did also interview Marianne Goebel from Artec, and she talked a lot about the altos and their influence on Finnish design and indeed international modernism. So if people are interested, they can go back and listen to that interview as well. So it's Marianne Goebel from Artec. But let's carry on and talk a little bit more about your actual curatorial work. So here I take it we're still looking at exhibits that are in the current building, is that right?
So this is, I wanted to show the next 5 slides are actually, we could go there, go through them quite quickly. I just want to give you an overall idea of what kind of exhibitions I have been working with during the past years. So this is a big exhibition of Eero Aarnio, industrial designer, furniture designer who have been active since the 60s, late 50s, and is still active. And I was curating this exhibition with him and the team. And then we could go forward. This is from last year, or 2019, Aamu Song and Johan Olin, who have been also been exhibiting at the storefront in New York, and we organized a major exhibition by them of their practice, which is to find the manufacturing secrets around the world. What kind of manufacturing skills there are still used and still left in different parts of the globe. And this is an exhibition by graphic design or type design studio Chic Toikka, which is 10 years old, contemporary studio. And this was an exhibition where we wanted to expand the idea of what a font design can be. Can it be even a sculpture, which you can see in the back of the room?
Such a difficult area of design curation. It makes architecture curating look easy, trying to do exhibitions about typography. So it's a really strong, striking example.
And we also organize international exhibitions. This is Henrik Ripsko's exhibition from 2014. We actually concentrated on more about his set design and sculptural art works that he has created, but displayed some of his fashion design as well. Our museum has the biggest Marimekko Finnish print house and fashion house collection in the world, around 5,000 pieces, and we have also organized, so we are kind of like very, we are interested in fashion as a part of design field as well. I have heard that some of the museums don't consider fashion or graphic design to be part of their exhibition program, because they maybe concentrate more on industrial design or crafts or applied arts, but we are open for all.
I suppose if you have a Marimekko archive, that's reason enough to have a new museum, right?
Yes. And this is what we have currently on display. We also want to research our collection, and here is actually a joint exhibition done with Vandalorum art institution in Sweden, and Töndermuseet in Denmark, which has a Hans Wegner collection. And we researched what is the relationship with travel that Nordic architects and designers have had since 1940s till present. So travel as a tool is the name of this exhibition. It's curated by my colleague Anna Vihma with colleagues in Vandalorum and Tönder Museum. So this is something kind of a thematic exhibition, example of thematic large scale exhibition that we have done. And this is interesting that we just opened this during the time that we were in lockdown in the spring. And this exhibition presents how the designers have been traveling, but they also, it also takes a critical look, kind of colonial, post-colonial look, and also environmental position in the travel.
I see. That's so interesting because it's right at the moment when travel became impossible and suddenly.
Exactly. And for and there are some designers in this exhibition that didn't want to travel. So for instance, like I understood that Hans Wegner didn't travel to Finland ever, but read a lot of books and traveled through the books in the Nordic countries or in Finland.
Right. He traveled in his mind.
He traveled in US though, but not in Finland.
And can you say just a little bit, Suvi, about the way that you've approached installation design in the exhibitions you've made so far? Because I think it will be very striking for viewers, even just seeing these these five images one after another, how very different they look. So can you share a little bit about your philosophy of that?
We pay quite a lot attention to the total kind of look and feel and design of the exhibition, and we always hire a external designer or architect that we consider to be expert in the topic of certain exhibition. So Henri Halla, who is behind this exhibition design, has actually been working with exhibitions that travel and has traveled himself for his design projects. So kind of he had the idea of kind of bring something extra to the table, so to say.
Yeah, nice. Yes, it's super effective. And in this case, also thinking about the idea of curating and sending things around the world in that way. Nice reference. Okay, well, let's get on to our next topic, which is the Open Call initiative.
So about where to start? We just created a new strategy for our museum for the next couple of 3 years. So the strategy, what kind of museum we would like to do or be, and what would we like to concentrate in during this time towards the new museum. And one important or two important things that we wrote in the strategy was that our mission or our duty is to enable social change. And the second thing was that we want to serve as a hub for the production of new knowledge. So we are a hub for the production of new knowledge. And we enable social change. And obviously we are happy this strategy was kind of inaugurated in the beginning of this year. And now we have understood that actually it is quite easy to live in the COVID and maybe even post global world with these ideas. And now I would like to highlight an exhibition series that we have had here in our museum, and maybe with the help of this exhibition concept, or actually series of exhibitions, talk about the response to the COVID and post-global times, hopefully. So a couple of years ago, we were kind of thinking that maybe we are missing something. Maybe there are talents out there that are not in our radar, although we travel a lot and search a lot and meet a lot of designers, etc. And we decided to organize an open call for as a pilot take that would happen during 3 years. And we were kind of like, we wanted to take it quite, or make it easy for the have an easy start, easy beginning. And we just stated that, okay, the topic could be, for the first open call, installation. And during from that open call, we got a magnificent exhibition idea by Milla Vahtera, who is displayed here in the image. She is a furniture and furniture designer and a sculptor, and she proposed us an installation that would consist of mobiles that she would make together with young glassblower talents in Finland. And what is funny, Finland is best known maybe because of its glass design tradition. That's one of our specialties in design, but the situation had gone to that we didn't actually have any glass blowing education, systematic education anymore. So the Aalto University had closed its master's degree for the, or degrees for the glass design or glass design. So there wasn't even glass blowing kind of need. And Milla Vahtera, although these look beautiful collectible objects, so she wanted to state, with the help of this installation, something important. She hired these young glassblowers and set herself in a dialogue with them, and how the best innovations in Finnish glass design in the 50s, say, were made was that the glass designers were actually allowed to spend months in the hot shop of Iittala, for instance, and just experiment with the glass designers, glass blowers, sorry. So during these like experimental times, the best and most glorious examples of Finnish glass design happened. But gradually this tradition was taken down, and Milla Vahtera wanted to show that it still is there if you allow the glass blowers and designers come together and play around. And the idea behind these objects was that they really didn't decide anything what they are doing when they stepped into the hot shop. They just started experimenting. So this kind of exhibition, the first one, suddenly became quite critical, and it became to kind of contain idea of social change. And since that on, kind of we decided to take the exhibition towards more critical approach, or kind of towards more critical approach. And the second exhibition we got from Open Call 2019 was by designer Julia Lohmann, who is in this picture, and quite many maybe know her work with seaweed and her Department of Seaweed studio. And she gathered a curatorial team, international, and suggested that we would display an exhibition called Critical Tide. And the Critical Tide was, the exhibition featured crafts, design, art, and speculative projects around the well-being of the seas. And it asked what designers could do to help in this situation. We could see, of course, there was like really kind of traditional objects, sea chair by Studios Wine. And then there were more experimental ones. This is a hair mat produced in California. And this hair mat from human and animal hair, woven one, is it's actually helping us to gather the poisonous materials that are leaking on the ground, and it's, for instance, used to gather oil in the oil spills from the water. So human hair, as we know, it gets greasy, so it's actually perfect cure to work with oil spills, etc.
You have to speak for yourself there.
Ah, all right. I'm so sorry.
Can I ask you just a quick question about the process here, Suvi? Is the fact that it's called Open Call, this series, does that imply that you're, in a way, giving away or yielding your curatorial authority to that outside designer? So, for example, Julia Lohmann in this case. So you're really handing over the control to her in a different way than normal?
I think it is. I think it's actually letting go of the control, letting go of being the authority, which museums have traditionally been. Authorities of the right information, right knowledge, right data.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's also, I would like to bring, a word transdisciplinary here in this discussion, and maybe this like transdisciplinary approach, I will explain it soon, can be some sort of like a reply to the COVID times, and kind of like the future of curating and future of programming as well. And it's related with the kind of the inclusion of multiple voices, and which we also want to enable in this whole series of exhibitions. And transdisciplinary approach is kind of like, it's not a new approach, but it's an approach where different kind of specialists, or it can be academic specialists, it can be just like any one of us, it can be museum visitors, or it can be somebody from the street who come together and they take a holistic look into a certain topic, and they share aim at the shared goal, which is maybe, for instance, the well-being of the seas. So we are not kind of limiting exhibition, in this case the Critical Tide, to just like well-known star designers, or these designers don't need to have a design education. They can be artists, or there can be a non-profit based in San Francisco, or anything like that. Or one of the curators were also diving instructor. So kind of like this kind of transdisciplinary approach where different voices come together is something that I find really interesting at the moment.
Super interesting. It also just, it makes me think about curating during a digital era when crowdsourcing and multiple contributions to narratives are so much more possible. And it strikes me that it's not so much that curators no longer have expertise, but their expertise just looks very different because it's an expertise in creating interesting situations, making connections, instigating things of this nature, rather than expertise in knowing all the facts necessarily, or as you say, having the best data. A very different approach.
And that's why I mentioned the two missions in our new strategy of our museum. And the second one was to be the hub for the production of new knowledge, not to be the one who produces the knowledge. So we are a hub that comes together. It's like a hub of this crazy mess that's these little strings are making in this image. So we are kind of like a hub that gathers different type of information, different specialists or different even citizens, etc., and bring them together and see what happens. And that's a different approach than the museum, which was museum in the 70s or museum in the, I don't know, 50s or even 90s. It's a challenge. It's also this like non-binary, as non-binary is, and binary is a word that we a lot use nowadays. So kind of museum becomes also non-binary. There is not just the authority museum and the audience, but it comes something, the roles are blending and there are not two roles, two kind of sides, but like everything in between.
So that's why, for example, here you have this invitation to the audience to interact with the content in a sort of imaginative way.
Yes, this idea, behind this is actually the idea of empathy. This is an empathy exercise. So there are so many different approaches that can be presented in an exhibition nowadays. It can be a sculpture, but it can be an empathy exercise.
Exactly. And here you're asking people to emphasize with marine creatures, really. So things that we would normally have trouble connecting to, perhaps emotionally.
Yes, this is more to think about kind of coexisting with different species, that the human-centered view is not the only one. We should actually think about that there are creatures like equal to us in the sea as well. And maybe this image would be a good example to talk about the post-global kind of curating, because actually this is a wall piece. This is a wall piece that was made in the exhibition about the Baltic Sea characters, the species in Baltic Sea. So it's really Helsinki, it's local, regional. But then if this exhibition travels somewhere else, it can be adapted in the local area, and it works better for that area, for that museum, for those visitors. So my question is, what happens to the traveling exhibitions during this post-global times? Because we've been buying and selling so much exhibitions between different museums, so you can see certain exhibition going around, like, I don't know, David Bowie or whatever. Yeah. And you could even see it in your own hometown, and when you travel to Berlin, you see it over there, etc. So is this stopping? If the global movement of people is stopping, is also the global movement of exhibitions. So can we start making curating exhibitions that are actually valid locally, or can be adapted and are more powerful?
Yeah, so they become modular in a way and can be
Mm.
brought to different places. So still create a sense of international exchange, but also think about local and regional identity and conversation.
And maybe it's more kind of, it feels meaningful actually than seeing David Bowie exhibition in V&A in London and then in Berlin, and I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always think about the fact that you can go anywhere in the world and basically see the same paintings by the same people because everybody's collecting them. And it's sort of like going to a mall in another country and you still have the same stores, you know? So that kind of vivid local narrative seems like a really important direction for museums to take. Yeah, so we're still in the Critical Tide show here, is that right?
This is actually our current show. It's called Soil Matters, and it's the third exhibition that we got through this open call. Mm-hmm. And the theme for the open call was material and materiality, and we got a great proposal called Soil Matters, exhibition that explores the materiality of soil and how it's intertwined with human action. It's actually talking about a lot about contaminated soil and what is the relationship with contaminated soil and the design and construction, so architecture industries.
I see, okay.
And it is curated by, this is actually an example where different kind of this transdisciplinary curating when different specialists come together. So Riikka Latvasompi and Maarit Mäkelä were the curators for this exhibition. But this image is actually taken from Venice. It doesn't look like Venice that much, but it's from Venice, the island
Murano.
No, it's now I forgot it. But it's a small island where which is actually made out of dumping the glass industry's trash into water. So actually the island is artificial island, and it's consisting I didn't remember. The island is completely made out of this like little glass pieces. And Riikka Latvasompi, whose work this photograph is, and who is one half of the curators of this exhibition. So she worked a couple of years ago in Venice and researched this island. And they actually researched quite many other spots also in Venice with the local authorities, took some samples and wanted to know how contaminated the Venetian soil is in different parts of the lagoon and in different islands, etc. And after they took some samples and they were measured, or whether they are really very poisonous or not, so they used that soil as both ceramic artists to make ceramic paints of this material. And they actually found out that different pollutants or different toxins in the soil appear in different colors when used, milled and then painted and put in the kiln. So
used as a glaze on the ceramic.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And they realized that they, as ceramicists and artists, can actually research this topic and maybe increase the awareness of human actions and contaminated soil by their practice. but they also need the authorities, those specialists that know, are specialists in the toxins, etc. And in Helsinki, in this exhibition that we have, they extended actually another group of people to be involved as well. They wanted to not gather Venetian soil samples, but they gathered soil samples from Finnish countryside, from different people, and from maybe little towns that have had mining operations back in the days, or other polluting operations. And now here in our exhibition, they are storing the soil samples, and they are also using them to paint decorations in the pots that have been made for this exhibition. I don't know, this is actually what happens now, as you can maybe listeners to view or hear, that this kind of like conceptual, transformational, transdisciplinary exhibitions are quite tough cookies. They are not easy to mediate or communicate, especially here in Zoom in a short time, but not also, they are quite challenging exhibitions for our visitors in the museum. And these kind of like exhibitions that enable social change and exhibitions that create new knowledge. So I must say that I have had hard times explaining this exhibition here, and I hope you go to our website and see more if you got interested.
But it's quite clear that it's both a political intervention of sorts, and it's also really repurposing the museum as a kind of research platform. Maybe not where the research will actually happen, but where the research findings are presented. So it really positions the designer as a different kind of figure, doesn't it? So more like an activist, more like a knowledge producer, as you say.
Definitely. And curators Riikka and Maarit are both academics. So, and they are also practicing ceramicists. So it's interesting background as well. And some of you might know this work from Victoria and Albert Museum. It's by UK research studio Unknown Fields Division. They went to the sludge mud, kind of toxic mud lake in Inner Mongolia to pick some mud, actually in order to make some ceramic vessels, which we see in the next picture. And what are these vessels? They are actually representing our current smart devices. The smallest one is the smartphone. The second largest one is laptop, very light laptop, and the biggest one is the electric car battery. So actually these vases contain as much mud which is needed to, which has the equal amount of toxins which are used into the, for instance, smartphone or laptop or electric car battery. So everyone who has a smartphone has, the production of your smartphone has left toxins of that much as the smallest ceramic vessel holds material.
Yeah,
in that sludge lake.
It's such a great example of how design can be used to make an abstract idea more relatable. Like just, I'm talking to you right now on a laptop, Suvi, and so thinking about that middle-sized vase is corresponding to this machine that I'm using right now to have the conversation that we're having.
Exactly.
It really sort of brings it home and makes it so physical and palpable. And it's what a museum and indeed what design can do in relation to these topics, perhaps.
And these, the Unknown Fields Division, it's They are a research studio practicing in art and art design and architecture. They are not ceramic artists.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to bring these like really multiple voices in this exhibition.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And maybe some of the last projects I would like to show from this exhibition is from Sweden. This is a soybean illustration about of soybean plant, and Unmaking Studio from Sweden has researched the glass industry areas in southern Sweden and how they have been polluting the ground. And they realized that actually there are some plants that can purify this ground, ground that has been contaminated earlier by people. Mm. So it's called phytoremediation. Phytoremediation, I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And the process, and for instance, soybean, there is a text in Swedish, blue and cadmium. So it means that it's lead and cadmium. So for instance, lead was used to get the color, really rare color, red for glass objects, really prestigious one. So soybean can purify the land that has been contaminated by lead, and cadmium was used for the red color, but the lead was used for lead glass, transparent lead glass. Mm-hmm. And here you can see in this image in the right that we are actually growing those plants in the exhibition space. This is from our exhibition space, and we have collected some land or material from the Finnish former glass factory areas, and now we measured it. We found that there is some poisonous materials, toxins, and now we are trying to purify the material here in the exhibition room with certain plants.
Okay. And are the glass objects in the center case, are those related to the same research project?
They are actually from our collection.
They are, okay.
Yes, they are our collection items, and with this we want to be share light towards ourselves and show that we are not innocent. We have a lot of toxins in our collection, or items that have been creating toxins to Earth, and we want to show that things are not so simple. So they are also they are really complex. So yeah. A prestigious glass object can be wonderful, appreciated object, but it can be also causing damage.
That's so interesting, isn't it, to think about the environmental footprint of your own museum collection and all of the artifacts in it?
Mm-hmm. I think we should calculate that. Oh, we need to in the future.
So I think this is our last image. Yeah, incredible, impressive object. So can you tell us about this one? Then we'll take just a couple of questions if people have any.
Perfect. So this is actually, in the background, you can see Finland map, and we are adding some dots there. And in the little shelves, you can see some soil samples that we have been we have received from ordinary people around Finland. And we are using those soil samples to make paints, which will be used for this, in this studio that is in the front of the picture. We have a ceramicist studio, or soil laboratory as we call it, in the exhibition. So we have actually ceramic artists working almost all the time, many days in a week in the exhibition, and using those soil samples that have been sent to us. And with this we can see what kind of colors different pollutants around Finland have caused.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, it's really interesting to think about how art and design and curatorial practice itself are implicated in the very ecological systems that you're trying to address. So I really like the way that you're putting yourself into the story, I guess I could say. Yeah. Well, I'm going to turn the slides off now. That's okay. And if anyone has any questions for Suvi, please let us know. Just put your questions in the chat box. We just had one question already from Kayla Noble, who I think wants you to broaden out a little bit and says, can you talk more about how the museum can act as a whole institution to decolonize art and design, working beyond the curation of specific exhibits? And is this a conversation you're having about the new museum in Helsinki? So thinking not just about the exhibition, but the broader role of the museum in society as a decolonization tool.
It is a very good question, and of course our museum has not kind of been innocent in this topic either. Mm-hmm. What I think that we will do, or we are trying to do, is that in this new strategy that I have been talking about, it's really a paper that wants to direct every one of us work here at the museum, and it will help us to steer the focus. So in that paper, we have stated that we will include, for instance, multiple voices in our daily operations, exhibition program, anything that in every table of our office.
So it's again that idea of changing the expertise structure of the institution.
Definitely. It's of course like bringing different multiple voices in the museum, to curate, to not to be just the audience. It must be in the structures, and now it's already mentioned in the strategy, so it's in the structural level. Yeah. It's not about the individuals. It must be structural.
Yeah, absolutely, because otherwise there won't be change. Permanent change anyway. Okay, a quick, first of all, clarification from Alex Gilbert, who says it's Saka San Mattia.
Saka San Mattia, exactly. It was so difficult. Yeah.
You're already operating in Finnish and English simultaneously, so we can give you the Italian for that, Alex. Albert Leakoff, the former executive director emeritus of the Center for Art and Wood in Philadelphia, just had a factual question about the unknown fields vases, about the phone and the car battery and the laptop. How big are they?
The smallest one is 11 centimeters. Okay. I don't know how much is it in inches, but...
We can do metric, it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, so big enough to be concerning, basically. Yeah, okay. Okay, a couple more questions. One from Sanam Sudavar. Do you have a favorite gallery of Nordic design? And he, I'm sorry, I don't know if Sanam is male or female, but asks, do you know Maria Vettergen, who's the gallery in Paris who's introduced contemporary Nordic design there? Anyway, mentioned that gallery, but is there a particular gallery you'd want for people to see?
So I am very much involved in the Nordic collectible and kind of gallery design scene. So from Helsinki, I would like you to follow Gallery Lokal, L-O-K-A-L, Lokal. From Copenhagen, I would like you to follow Etage Projects. And from Sweden, from Stockholm, it's not a gallery, but you could search it's really hard, but Google Örnsköldsviks Auktion, which is a platform founded a couple of years ago and non-existing anymore by really talented, the best Swedish collectible designers or artists.
Yeah, I was also thinking about the museum at Gustavsberg, which is a really good design and craft platform. Okay, just one more question because we're unfortunately out of time now, but Colin Fanning asks, I'd be curious to hear a little bit about how Design Museo approaches the task of interpretation for exhibitions. And Colin adds, this is a big topic at the moment in American institutions, with many museums creating dedicated interpretation teams to function as a kind of intermediary between curators and the public. For these fascinating shows that tackle some big and potentially unwieldy topics, what means do you use, in addition to the objects themselves, of course, to communicate your aims to the visitors? So can you talk a little bit about that layer?
Yes, very big question. We are a quite small museum, although the Finnish design heritage is huge. We don't have roles that are between kind of audience and we have the department for museum education, museum pedagogic department, but and they are doing the mediating, but it's just like a couple of people working there, and of course including our guides. So I would say that we would definitely need new ways of mediators in addition to the maybe traditional educational departments and curatorial departments, definitely.
So you think that will change when the new museum comes online?
I'm sure. We are now having a pop-up project, or kind of like a 3-year project, which aims at founding architecture and design learning center. So my colleagues are now researching the possibilities of learning through design and architecture, and they have been doing it for many years now, but now we have a dedicated 3-year program for researching, really prototyping about this new center that could be part of the museum, Center for Learning for Architecture and Design.
Wow, fantastic. So we don't have to wait for the new museum to come around to see more.
No, actually no.
Super. Well, I'm afraid we're at time now, so we'll have to stop there, but this has been a fantastic conversation, and for most of us who have not been able to visit Helsinki while you've been curating there, it's a real revelation to see the fantastic work that you and your colleagues have been doing. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Glenn.
I did want to just announce that, of course, we have another Design and Dialogue coming up on Friday, and this one will be taking us to Chicago. So we'll be hearing about the next Chicago Architecture Biennale, which will be curated, or at any rate, we'll be hearing about it from David Brown and Sarah Herda. So my colleague, Stephen Burks, will be interviewing those two on the program on Friday. And of course, I'll be back next Wednesday. So that's all for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Suvi, thank you for being with us on Design and Dialogue.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.